Welcome back, guys, to the Football Biz podcast. As always, my name is Grayson Mortimer. He is Hunter Boyven, and we have a lot to talk about today. There's a lot of big transfers, which we'll start with, and then also later we plan on covering games from La Liga, the Bundesliga, um, the Premier League, FA Cup, as well as the massive Juventus scandal that has led to them getting deducted 15 points. We'll get to that a bit later, but to hop right into it, some big transfers happened in this past week, and we haven't made an episode in over a week, so a lot has happened, especially in the world of transfers. And let me just say, Fabrizio Romano, what a guy! Very, very useful. I found out today that he's only 29.
Didn't know that actually.
I didn't either. I thought that dude was like maybe early 40s. Nah,
Yeah.
he's 29. He is only 7 years older than us. That's insane. Anyways, uh, the first big one that I think we'll talk about is Milan Skriniar, big defender for Inter Milan, has confirmed he's going to PSG on a free.
Yeah, I think this is actually a very good move. He's obviously a class center back. And if you think about it, Ramos is not the future of PSG. So if you pair him up with Marquinhos on the other side, I think this is actually a pretty solid defense going into the future. So I think it's a pretty good move.
Yeah, obviously the likes of Marquinhos and Kim Pembe are there. I definitely think Skriniar is an upgrade on Kim Pembe. No, he's not bad, but I mean, compared to Skriniar, I think he's not the same type of defender. Marquinhos, I mean, he's kind of an immovable object. He's one of the captains of PSG. I believe he wore the armband when I saw them. And the likes of Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe were all on the field. So that kind of says how important Marquinhos is to this team.
Could also he used to play a little bit of CDM
He did.
here and there. And I mean, I think he's better at center back, but if necessary, he could just move back up to CDM if they for
Yeah,
some reason see that.
yeah, that is one position that PSG doesn't have a ton of depth in right now. But it is certainly possible. I mean, I believe Danilo Pereira plays for them, so he's there, but it is possible too that Marquinhos does move up. It definitely gives them a lot of flexibility. If I was rating this transfer, I would give it a solid 9 out of 10. I mean,
Yeah, 8-9, pretty good.
it's one that really, I mean, it's a great deal. It's on a free too. I have no qualms with this one. I think PSG are doing some great business there.
Yeah,
Um,
100% agree on that.
the next one we'll talk about, this one's not confirmed yet, but I would say it is likely that this will happen. Moises Caicedo is linked with Arsenal for a move of around 60 million. This would be a fantastic move for Arsenal if they were able to pull it off. Caicedo's obviously one of Brighton's best players. He's one that I think they really want to keep between now and the end of the season. But yeah, it'll be a good transfer for Arsenal if they're able to get this done.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting player. Obviously, he had a few games in the World Cup where he proved himself as much as he could. And in the last few Prem games that he's played, I think he's done pretty well. It fits Arsenal system well, I think. It's not some like crazy superstar signing for millions and millions, but I think for again what they're trying to do and how their team works, this probably works well for them.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think for the start, the way they currently play, I definitely think it's more of a depth move for the time being. But given Thomas Partey's injury history and the fact that he's got his own scandals going on right now, they haven't really been talked about too much recently, but they still are very much present. It's definitely a depth move because I think we saw in the FA Cup game against Man City that Lakanga is not, he didn't really know where he was in the field. So I think that he's got to mature a little more. Caicedo's obviously been a great player for Brighton. So if this transfer goes through, I think, I mean, again, I'd say give it an eight or a 9. No qualms there.
Yeah, because we said this in a few episodes ago. The only real issue with Arsenal is the lack of depth. Sorry. Getting Trossard, which you guys talked about in the last episode, it's another move just like that. You build the depth up and you're building the future. And honestly, you're building the now as well, considering they're still in prime position to win the league at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I think that I think it's a great transfer. Arsenal is a very young squad, so I mean this just adds to it. Caicedo's a very young player. and one that is definitely, I think, only going to get a lot better. So obviously, I'm a Man City fan, and Arsenal are beating us right now, but I have nothing against Arsenal, and if this transfer goes through, I think it's a great bit of business for them. The next one is Tottenham signed defender Pedro Porro from Sporting CP for around $45 million or euros. I don't actually know a lot about him. I don't really follow the Portuguese league as much as I probably should, but from what I've heard, he's a good defender, and I think it'll help Tottenham's right back position.
Yeah, right wing back, right back. It's definitely good for them considering I think the last game they played three in the back, which if it works for you, it does. But you also played against Fulham, so it's not really a great test.
Hey, don't knock Fulham, man. They're not that bad.
I'll knock Fulham a little bit because it's Tottenham. You're a big club. You should be beating a club like this. It's better than being Chelsea and losing to Fulham, but that's a different story. Yeah, I don't know too much either myself, other than I've been hearing his name a lot. I think he's in pretty good form. But I can't say it's a bad signing for them. So
Oh, if he plays the way that I think they're expecting him to, I think this is a great transfer as well. Tottenham's, I would say, biggest weakness is their current defensive situation. They're fine on the left because they have the likes of Sessegnon. He's been very good, but they also got Perisic to cover for that position as well. Obviously, their center backs, they got the likes of Romero, Dyer, um, and Longley. I definitely think that Romero's probably the best of the bunch there, but their defense could maybe be upgraded a little bit. But their biggest weakness, I would say, was their right wing back position because Doherty and Emerson Royale just haven't been getting it done the way that they should. And they definitely got exposed against Man City, especially Emerson, who did score in that game, but also was ripped
yeah,
apart in the second half.
great,
So
but that's not your job to score.
yeah, and unfortunately, as much as I like Lloris, I think he's nearing the end of his
Yes, he
career.
is.
Unfortunately, he's a great player, but one that definitely is on the decline. So Tottenham's defensive structure is definitely their weak point, and this signing definitely helps. So I would say solid. I don't know much about him, so I'd give it like a 7 for right now.
Yeah,
But
I'm not
definitely
gonna.
could move up.
Yeah, it's definitely not bad, but we'll wait to see if it's good.
Yeah, and they also loaned Arnaud Danjuma from Villarreal. And this one I didn't really see coming. I feel bad for Everton because they were supposed to originally sign him. I think he did the medical and everything, and then the Spurs were like, "Oh no, actually, we're gonna sign this guy because you're in 18th and we are up here in the top half of the table." And they were able to pull that off. And well. I mean, if things weren't looking up for Everton, they at least did get Sean Dyche, so that's at least something. If there's one guy that might be able to keep them up, it's him. But they did miss out on Danjuma. That's going to hurt their attack.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really know how the rules work, but I feel like if you're already at the point where you're doing medical stuff, I don't know how it's allowed that you could just literally swipe a player from them.
If you don't sign the contract, then you're
It's
still good.
crazy. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so. It's definitely crazy. I personally for Danjuma, I think it's definitely a better move to get
I mean,
hijacked
yeah.
to Tottenham. Um, yeah, I don't really see what he was thinking when he thought he was going to go to Everton, but he just scored in their last game, so he's clearly already
Yeah, he's already hitting the mark.
fitting into the system. So I think even though it's just a loan, I'm going to say it's a pretty good move.
Yeah. I give it like a 7. I don't think he'll start per se because they do have the likes of Kane, Son, obviously, Kulisevsky, Perisic if he moves up the field. But if he does start, if they want to maybe go throw Son or him right, they could do that. And yeah, I mean, great signing, and they did just win in the FA Cup as well. Son scoring a pair of bangers, so um, maybe things are looking up for Tottenham. We will see. Chelsea signed another player under Todd Bowley. They signed a guy named Malo Gusto from Olympic Lyon, coming from the French league. Decent player, but again, why? Like he's a right back. I mean, I get that Reece James has hamstrings that are as flexible as an iron rod, but like it's like, man, why are you signing everybody? You're not going to have any places to play, guys. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 0. Nothing against Malo Gusto. I don't know much about him, but as far as Chelsea goes, I'm giving this. If I could give it less than a 0, I would. There. This is nothing new. We have a segment on Chelsea every episode now because
Yeah.
they just keep doing ridiculous things like this and get 0 results out of it. So I'm not gonna say much beyond that. It's a 0. Even if it works out for them, it's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, if Reece James is injured for a long period of time, I can kind of understand this one, but they've already spent over $500 million under Todd Bowley. I mean, that's insane. That's like that's more than City spend like a season, like way more. And Man City's known for being like the big spenders of the Premier League. And Chelsea's like outspending everyone, but they're not sensible transfers.
No,
The only one that I think has really made sense was Betty Ashile, the center back, who is gonna I think mix into the squad well. But other than him, it's like Mudryk. Yeah, he showed some flashes. Maybe he'll pan out. Maybe he won't. We'll see. But Felix has already proven that he can't keep his temper under control. And I mean, yeah, I mean
I forgot about him.
Cucurella's been a flop.
Yeah, he kind of sucks. I forgot about Joe Felix already. Honestly, it's been so long since I've seen him play in a Premier League game.
It's bad. It's really bad. So, but maybe Malo Gusto will work out. I'll give it a 3 just as a depth move. But one that I did like was Weston McKennie going to Leeds. Becoming the Leeds United States of America, because with their manager Jesse Marsh and players Tyler Adams and Brendan Aronson. McKennie's now joining them. It's a loan deal from Juventus for I believe it was $1.3 million, 1.2. And then if they want to buy him, it'll be about 33. I think McKennie's got a decent role in this Leeds team. I think he'll fit in perfectly alongside the likes of Adams. I like this move. I mean, as a USA fan, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty cool. I think also what we'll get into later. I think we're going to see a lot of people leaving Juventus soon. When I saw the news while I was in Florida, um, the first thing I thought of was we're going to see a lot of people leaving. I think the transfer window is closing soon. Um,
It's got about 3 days left.
yeah, so I mean, if not this season, this window, then the next window, a lot of people are going to leave. But as far as personally, for Weston, I think this is a good move. Juventus is obviously a great club, but if you're not really playing for anything at this point, then maybe a passion project like Leeds is good, and you have teammates that you already know.
Yeah, exactly. I think he'll be able to get comfortable. I think USA fans will like this move a lot. And as a Canada fan, Kyle Larin did go on loan to Real Valladolid, and he scored the winner today. So I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's out of Bruges, out of the clutches of Scott Parker, and that
The
he's
favorite.
now playing in Spain, trying to keep them up. And they beat Valencia too, who are having kind of a bad season, but still, a team that has spent some money before and has had some big names. So happy for Kyle Larin there as a Canada fan. The last transfer we'll talk about is Anthony Gordon to Newcastle for 40 million. This one had me scratching my head.
Yeah, I'll be honest here. I actually don't really know much about this guy, so I don't really have much to add as far as how that goes.
Basically, he was a youth winger for Everton. Came up through their academy, was one of their brighter spots, but I think he only scored like a couple goals this year. It wasn't that many. Um, it just seems like a weird one to me. I don't think that Newcastle really need him per se because he is a wing, which is one position that they have a bit of depth in with the likes of obviously Saint Maximan, um, Ryan Fraser, among others. But Gordon is 21. He has 3 goals this year as a wing. I don't mind the transfer. It's just the price for me.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now based on the notes. I'm obviously uneducated on this particular player, but 40 million seems a bit excessive.
40 million for a guy with career 7 Premier League goals.
Yeah,
7. like it's just it's times like this when I really question the transfer market. It's like, why are you spending $40 million for a guy with 7 goals in 65 appearances?
Chelsea
Unless
FC.
he's unless he's well, yeah, they were actually linked with him at one point. Unless you're a center back, those numbers are freaking pitiful. They
Yeah,
are like they're so bad. Why do you expect to go anywhere if you're spending $40 million on Anthony Gordon? I get that Newcastle has that financial
that
capital now.
boner
They
now.
do.
Yeah,
But every transfer they've made up till this point has made sense. Like Sven Botman, amazing transfer. Absolutely love it. He's one of the players of the season. I give them a 10 for that one. Isak, obviously, he had an injury layoff. I think he'll pan out. I mean, great striker, prolific for Sweden, Real Sociedad. Um, he's a great signing. Nick Pope, fantastic signing. Dan Burn, not bad. Like all these guys have made sense. Bruno Guimaraes, also a 10. Like
amazing.
all of these transfers make sense, but then they go out and do this. They spent the same amount of money for Anthony Gordon, who has 7 goals, as they did for Bruno Guimaraes, who's their best player.
I mean,
But,
it's a bargain, I guess, for Bruno, which is great, but then you kind of cancel it out with something like this.
yeah, I give this one a 2. I don't see the
I don't know much about this, so I'll just agree with your assessment
okay,
on this.
fair enough. I don't see the hype with this one, but maybe he'll prove us wrong and go out and score 10
Good for you.
in the remainder of the season. Maybe he'll turn into another wing that they have, Miguel Almiron. I don't know. Um, but it's one that it kind of had me scratching my head. So we're gonna move into the match portion now. We're gonna talk about Bayern Munich first. I'll let you take the reins with this one, since
Oh,
it is your team.
I am so sad. Every day I'm sad now. It's not really something you say as a Bayern fan usually. Um, uh, the first game back from break against Leipzig, drawing 1-1 is pretty acceptable, I'd say, for a
Especially
team
because
that,
I believe they were away for that match.
yeah, it was at Leipzig, and it's a tough team who's top four right now, bouncing back between two and three. I didn't really think too much of it. Then the second game against Cologne, okay, why? This is a mid-table team that you draw again 1-1 2, and then all right, fine. You've been on break for a while, and then just the other day, Frankfurt, who is a better team than
They're
Cologne,
sixth right now.
draw 1-1 again. I don't see what the hell is happening right now. I'm so lost. I'm seeing it, but I don't know why they're doing it. I'm quite disgusted. I think I've been spoiled, obviously, as a Bayern fan, but I don't even know where this is coming from.
I would say the biggest thing for Bayern right now is they haven't been able to fill the void that was left by Lewandowski. Obviously, Mane was kind of the guy, but he's been injured for a bit.
Of
I
course.
definitely think when he comes back, it'll only improve the
Yeah,
side.
he's back in training now, which is good.
Yes. But I mean, right now the Bundesliga table is wide open.
Mhm.
Bayern still lead it at 37, but Union Berlin has 36. Leipzig, who they just tied with, has 35. Dortmund and Freiburg both have 34.
Yeah,
So the between first and fifth right now is only 3 points.
yeah. As far as Mane goes, he's back in training, which is good. He'll obviously help out a lot when he comes back. Um, yesterday or the other day was the first game they started Muller again. After the first two games, they had him coming off the bench. I think he's absolutely a necessary person to start. Not because he's young and fresh, obviously, but he's experienced and he knows the entire field. So you got to have him in there as a start. Jan Sommer, I was really excited about this when I saw it in the news last week. I can't say he's done poorly because he's only let in one goal each game, and they haven't always really been his fault. I kind of want to blame the defense on this one. The defense has been really lackluster. Um, they make silly mistakes, uh, poor passes, all that. They're definitely not really helping out Jan Sommer's case as a future starter for Bayern. So if I have to
Yeah.
say anything, it's the lack of being clinical up front when you're creating all these chances and the defense.
Yeah, obviously, I think you talked about the defense. The likes of the losing Lucas Hernandez is big. Um,
Huge.
I mean, Upamecano and Delict are good enough players to really get it done, but they just haven't been able to. Um, and up front, I mean, Choupo-Moting, he scored against Leipzig, but other than that, hasn't really done that much.
He's a silly player, and I love him. He's a nice guy. He seems like a great guy. But I watch him on the field, and I just can't help but hear like clown noises
Stoke City.
whenever he touches the ball. It's like every goal he scores is in ridiculous fashion.
That's
But
fair.
he's a striker, which we need. I'm really hoping we can pull something next transfer window as far as strikers go.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Bayern's biggest need. I think a guy like Timo Werner would definitely help. Obviously, flopped with Chelsea, but I think with Bayern, I think he would definitely help their cause. Um, Now, moving on to the Premier League, there's only really one match that I think really needs to be talked about, and that's Arsenal beating Manchester United. This one was insane. I did watch it. Eddie Nketiah obviously scoring twice, Saka scoring a goal, Marcus Rashford scores a beautiful solo run. Um, this game had everything. Lissandro Martinez obviously off the corner as well. So it was so intense and so hyped. I was really hoping Arsenal would bottle the 3 points and give the edge to Man City on that one, but of course they didn't. And Eddie Nketiah scores a late winner off of a kind of deflected cross situation. But I mean, great play by Arsenal again. I mean, they're proving why they're the favorites. I think the Arteta project has definitely had its skeptics, but I think that those people are now going to see that there's a reason that they stuck by this guy, gave him the money to spend, gave him the time to establish his philosophy. Because I mean, we could very well be seeing the second incoming of Pep Guardiola like before our very eyes, because he obviously did learn from him. But I mean, fair props to Arsenal and fair props to Arteta for completing a great game.
Yeah, buzzer beater by Nketiah. I think it was a great game. It was probably one of the games of the year as far as the Prem goes. Definitely up
Almost
there.
certainly.
Yeah, from start to finish, it was exciting. And like the first goal happened very fast. And the last goal happened at the very last minute, which is always fun to see. But I'm not going to knock United on this. Said this before, and I think we see it every time they play now. They're one of the best teams in the world right now. And it's really unfortunate that they're not in the Champions League because that's like the best stage to show off on. But um, despite the loss, I think they're definitely one of the most informed teams now. Casemiro might be the signing of the year for me as far as any team goes.
Him or Botman, I would say,
Yeah,
would be
I
my
mean,
top two.
both teams are doing well as a result. And of course, the resurgence of Marcus Rashford can't be overlooked. Um, that tandem duo right there is one of the best I'm watching right now, and it's fun to watch United again, which is it's cool to say.
Yeah, and obviously I dislike United as a Man City fan, but what I will say is that Ten Hag is the right man for the job. There is absolutely no, it's a no-brainer to give him time. I mean, we've seen his philosophy. We've seen some transfers he's been able to make. We've seen what he's been able to do with guys that they currently have. And kind of it's a similar situation with Newcastle and Eddie Howe. It's like what he's been able to do with guys that they've had, like Marcus Rashford, like uh, even Varane, who had a down season last year, like De Gea. He looks like himself again. Obviously, the one bad mistake in a cup, but other than that, he's been back to his normal self. He's just been able to restore this type of confidence in this team, and it's been able to carry off since then. So similarly to Arsenal and Newcastle, he's the right man for the job, and I absolutely think that United, if they don't win a trophy this year, it'll be coming for them. I mean, they did win in the FA Cup again. I believe that was today, and yeah, I mean, there's not really much else I can really say about United. They are still flying despite the loss to Arsenal.
Yeah, because obviously that game was last week, and since then they have won, like you said, in FA Cup games and such. So I'm definitely not worried about them. They could win the FA Cup really, especially
Easily.
Liverpool's now, or they're going to be out. I don't know if
Liverpool is indeed tossed out of the FA Cup.
yeah, okay, then they're done. So the chances are only getting better. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Them and City are definitely the two big favorites in the FA Cup. And speaking of the FA Cup, we're going to talk about the first big match that's there, and that was obviously Manchester City against Arsenal, which was a big match. But City was able to get the 1-0 result. As a City fan, this game absolutely terrified me. Arsenal were the better team in the first half, but after halftime, City were able to turn it around. Nathan Ake, of all people, scores the goal. Not one that really scores that often, but fair play to him. And as much as I rag on him, I do think Jack Grealish was able to change this game. His hold-up play before assisting the goal was excellent. He showed great strength. He didn't dive for once in his life, looking for the foul because he easily could have in that situation. But he held onto the ball, held off two defenders, got it to Ake. Ake curls it around the goal and is able to secure the victory. That being said, John Stones also got hurt, which definitely might hurt Man City's chances. That being said, the likes of Laporte were able to play this game. He had a crucial goal line intervention against Nketiah right before he would be able to finish it. But one player I do want to talk about is Kevin De Bruyne. He has not been good recently. A guy that we expect to be world class day in, day out has not been the same.
I could see as a City fan why you would be worried about that, but I can't say I'm too worried for him. Obviously, his class is permanent. He's not one of those guys that just has hot flashes. I think it'll be a quick bounce back whenever it is. I'm not really too worried for him.
Yeah, I'm not either, but you almost wonder. I mean, he is 32 now. It's 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 a question of is his age catching up to him? He plays this obviously his passing will never age. I mean, we saw the likes of Andrea Pirlo still have the passing, Luka Modric as well, like still have their passing game, throughout their whole career. But it definitely does raise some questions, but I do think in the end of the day he will be potentially okay. It just also raises the question: is he playing through something? But we shall see what happens there. Um, the other game that the FA Cup had today was the big one. Today was Liverpool against Brighton. Brighton win 2-1. Matoma sends Liverpool packing.
Matoma, I had one of his as a honorable mention goal of the week a few weeks ago. Really exciting that goal, but then the goal today, so needed as far as moving on. It was insane, and I think young players like that we'll see on Brighton, Newcastle, Arsenal are the future of this league. And if he doesn't stay at Brighton, which I'm sure he will for the meantime, I think he's a fairly new signing.
He
Um,
was signed this year.
yeah, so I think we'll see the development of players like that. And I like that personally. I like the development of players becoming better. I'm not a huge fan of breaking the bank for any team, but that was an amazing goal. And Liverpool continue to flop. It's very sad that Evan isn't here to talk about this. I'm sure he'd like to pitch in, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he said in the past, I forget if it was on an episode or not, but he said that they've been poor. And I made a comment in the football chat that we're in, and I said Klopp might want to resign. And everyone who's a Liverpool fan in that chat was like, "Oh, what are you saying? What are you saying? You're insane." This was like 6 months ago, by the way, when I said this, before we've seen everything unravel. I said that in that chat, and I said, if this form continues, Klopp may want to resign because it would be more dignified for him to leave, even if it's at the end of the season. If they finish where they are right now, I don't think anybody would blame him. I certainly wouldn't. I would respect it. I mean, the guy's won everything with this team. I mean, everything that you can win. He's brought the glory back to Liverpool when they had their dark age in the 2000s with Rodgers, but Hodgson before him. But I don't think anyone would fault him. And now they're out of the FA Cup. They're out of the League's Cup. They're facing Real Madrid, who has beaten them every time in the Champions League in recent memory. in that competition. They're not going to win the Premier League. There's no
No.
chance. At this point, there's no chance. And the likes of, even if City bottle it, Arsenal is. I mean, I don't see how anybody stops Arsenal right now. Inform United couldn't beat Arsenal. Arsenal used a few B-side players against Man City and only lost 1-0.
Yeah.
Like Liverpool is
Cameron.
a team that is just they're in free fall. They're not going to win any trophies this year, and that's kind of what their fans have expected. So, um, Klopp has every right, I would say, to look at this and say, I think my time here is finished.
Yeah, I like Klopp a lot. Obviously, as like a German national supporter, stuff like that. Seeing a German coach and the Prem doing well, despite the fact that he was a Bayern opposition back in the day. Um,
Dortmund.
I like him a lot. I see a lot of people, my friends, they don't like him that much, for whatever reason. Maybe because he's good at what he does. I think he's a great manager, and I hope that it's not the end of his whole career if he does leave. I don't think that's really on the front foot right now, but hopefully he finds a new home if it's not Liverpool. I'm definitely not a fan of seeing him uh, down in the dumps right now. Although I will say I'm very happy to see Liverpool in the middle of the table. As far as if I could separate them, I would, but it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I do think that he's going to be you know looking at his options. Um, so the final game we are going to talk about for the FA Cup, I just watched it. It just ended. It was Wrexham, famously owned by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, tied Sheffield United 3-3. Wrexham should have won this match. They were up 3-2, and Sheffield scores in the 94th minute, and I was so sad. I was like, this National League team is almost going to beat two FL Championship teams because they beat Coventry already, which that in itself was a phenomenal match, 4-3. Um, and yeah, Ryan Reynolds actually did attend this match. He was
So
there in the stands. I just followed Wrexham on Instagram. I had to. I mean, they're a great story. They got the documentary about them, of course. Welcome to Wrexham on Hulu. I do need to watch that, but it was a great game, 3-3. Wrexham had two leads in this match. But Sheffield, in the end, were able to get it and bring the match to their home stadium.
I only saw clips of the goals that were scored by Wrexham. Honestly, great plays for both of them, coming from corners or coming from nice through balls.
And those
Uh,
long throw-ins.
yeah, no, that was definitely like some of the most professional I've seen for a team that's so low as far as leagues go. Um, of course, Sheffield isn't the greatest club ever, but as far as comparison between Wrexham and Sheffield, that's like 20th place Prem beating Arsenal right now. I think that's really impressive, good for them, and hopefully they can find more success in the future. I think that's a big improvement right there.
I really hope so. I hope they're able to. It'll be a tough battle, but Wrexham has a team spirit like none other. They know their owners are well known throughout the world. Um, and yeah, I mean the fact that Reynolds was there, he was celebrating, he was so happy when his team scored. Like I think that shows everything that you need to know about this team. Like top down is supporting this team, and Ryan Reynolds is living proof of that. So McElhaney is currently at a tailgate for the Philadelphia Eagles, so he wasn't able to go there. But
Saw the
um,
phone call.
yeah, Reynolds did have him on the phone. He was like, "Hey, Rob's on the phone with me. I'm at the game right now." But it was absolutely awesome to see. I really hope Wrexham's able to, kind of continue on, venture onwards. And even if they lose the match, I think they have every reason to have their heads held high. I mean, they they've taken it to teams that are better than them and really gone for it. So I hope they get promoted to the FL Championship. I believe they're currently in first in the National League, or not the FL Championship, League Two. I misspoke. But yeah, I mean, absolutely phenomenal there. Moving on to La Liga, we have one match, really one player that we're analyzing for this one, and that guy is Iñaki Williams of Athletic Bilbao, who was famously known for having basically an Iron Man streak that no one has really seen in this sport in a long time. Obviously, they have them in hockey, and hockey has a lot of injuries as well, but football players are always getting beat up on the pitch. And the fact that he has lasted 251 consecutive appearances over 7 years is an absolutely incredible achievement. He's played through hamstrings, he's played through ankle injuries, he's played through e- almost everything you can imagine. But unfortunately for him, that streak just ended.
Yeah, I saw somewhere it was muscular injury related, something to that. So I'm sure, like you said, throughout all those appearances, he's played through some injuries and just kind of toughs it out, whether he played the whole game or not. This is pretty sad to see. I think this is one of those things that obviously a 7 year streak, we grew up kind of watching that streak start and now finish, unfortunately. Um, it was really cool to see, but can't really expect that to last forever. Very
Yeah,
unfortunate, but it was cool to see.
especially when he has been one of the main men for Bilbao for a while too. Him and his brother Nico now are on the scene. So, um, I mean, we plaudits to both of them, but especially Iñaki in this case for having that type of streak, to go forward with that. Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to our final big story, and this is probably maybe the biggest story in football over the past week, is Italian giants Juventus have been stripped 15 points in Serie A. It bumped them from fourth down to, I believe, around 10th, 11th. Their form has been terrible since then. They had a crazy 3-3 draw, and then they did just lose as well. I believe it was 2-0 again in their most recent match. Now, if it wasn't for this, I mean, they're still in the champion. We're talking Champions League. AC Milan's form has been terrible recently. I mean, they just lost themselves. They lost 5-2. Juventus just lost to Monza. And to put that into perspective, Monza is 11th in the table, but a team that has only come up from the Serie B recently. Um, and yeah, it's one that is frankly shocking to me. The fact that this happened again in Juventus's history.
Yeah, like I said earlier when we were talking about Weston McKennie, we're going to see a lot of people leave Juventus, and this is the reason why. You had half a season where you are top four of the table, a serious threat to the championship. Uh, Players are doing well, they're playing for a purpose, and all of a sudden you get that taken away from you. As a player, I'm sure that's like humiliating, especially because you had no role in that. Everything that you worked hard for is stripped by something the front office did. Um, so that's just really unfortunate as a player who works so hard.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it's a big shame the fact that they just haven't been able to be honest with not just themselves but the UEFA, the FFP, all of that. They got 15 points deducted from them for having the financial stability of a malnourished pigeon. Like they can't they they can't do it. Like I don't know how they're able to continue this type of thing because they haven't been able to to be financially stable. We saw this happen in our history. It happened in 2006 with the Calciopoli scandal. Other teams got dinged for that as well, including Fiorentina. I believe Napoli was involved in that scandal. Like this is not new. Both Milan clubs were involved in that scandal, and it's a shame because Italian football is a great league. It's a league that a lot of people do respect, but it's also a league that a lot of people don't respect because they call it boring. They call it this. They call it that. They call the referees corrupt. They call the finances corrupt. And while a lot of that's complete bogus, like the financial stability thing has some facts to it. And last time this happened, I mean, yeah, there was a giant exodus. Obviously, they got relegated, and that's unless more findings come out by UEFA and FIFA's investigations. Unless more of that comes out, they're not going to get relegated. But they're a team in 13th in Serie A right now. The likes of Dusan Vlahovic are not going to take that lightly.
No, and I mean, I think they're still gonna play as hard as they can, but again, this is humiliating. It's you're everything that you worked for is just gone now. There's really no coming back from this, especially after a loss today to a mid card team. And now, even though it's kind of unfair to say Juventus is now a mid card team as well, but um, it's the truth. It's the reality.
Yeah, obviously the likes of Paul Pogba just went back there. Vlahovic, who I mentioned, Last time this happened, the likes of Zlatan Ibrahimovic left, and some other star players. I can't really think of the names. They had some loyalty in the team, like the likes of Pavel Nedved, Gianluigi Buffon, did stay around in Serie B because they've had loyalty to their team, but and they were able to obviously bounce right back up. I mean, obviously Pavel Nedved's not going to play in Serie B, and then Ballon d'Or winner's not going to just take that. He's still going to ball out and do his thing, but um, yeah, I mean this affects them majorly. Like Chesney, I don't think would stay long term if they were to go down again. Di Maria wouldn't accept that. For some reason, I feel like Adrian Rabiot would try to force a move out, but then no one would want him. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why Juventus have had these financial issues, and there's going to be more details that come out about this story. But as of right now, it's all we know is that they got deducted points for financial reasons.
Yeah, not too much else to add on that. It's just really it sucks. I mean, I'm not a Juventus fan, but seeing it from a neutral perspective, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, we do have a couple followers that are Juventus fans, so for their sake, I hope that it's able to
One of my
improve.
friends, and that's he's gonna switch
It's
allegiances, I'm sure.
it's one of the few instances where I wouldn't blame somebody for switching allegiances to a different team if their club,
Yeah,
if anything ever came out that said that Man City or Real Madrid or had this type of issue, I would be like, okay, well, I gotta question my allegiance here, especially the Man City, if something came out about them other than their owners being a little sus and in the Middle East. Other than that, I mean, there isn't really much to say about anything that team has really done. But um, as for Juventus, they might need new owners.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they can kiss the season goodbye, really.
Oh yeah, their season's finished. There's no way that they're going to be able to come back up. I
Constantly,
don't. I don't see. Yeah, I don't. I mean, AC Milan's form has been shambolic. They just lost 5-2 to the team. Oh, excuse me, team in 16th, which is Sassuolo. But
now they're in fifth place.
yeah, they're knocked into fifth. But Juventus is ironically 15 points out of a Champions League spot.
Good.
So these things have majorly affected them.
Yeah.
Yep. And now moving on to our usual segment of the week, we have first our goal of the week. Hunter, I will let you start.
Yeah, if there's one good thing to take away from this week as a Bayern fan, and there's not much, it's the goal by Kimmich against Köln. This saved the game. Obviously, another 1-1 draw. They were losing 1-0 the entire game. Kimmich pulls up from between the half field and the goalie's box and just lets one rip, bar down, no chance of saving it. It was definitely beautiful. Not only was it beautiful, and it was also very much needed. So
Yeah, fair enough. My pick this week is one match we didn't really talk about was the Copa de España for Real Madrid against Atletico, but Real Madrid did win that match 3-1. I'm very happy about that. But my goal of the week is Rodrigo. His solo run past four different players, including Axel Witsel, who he made look like he looked like he had the pace of a 80-year-old man on the field trying to slide tackle him. Rodrigo glances by him, glances by a couple other players, toe pokes it past Oblak, 1-1, brings it to extra time, leading to Benzema and Vinicius getting the job done. But without that goal from Rodrigo, that doesn't happen.
mhm.
The impact of the goal was huge, but also the goal itself was very impressive.
Yeah, Atletico really stood no chance after the first half was done.
And of
So
course, Stefan Savage got sent off in that game. I mean, dude is I didn't have any qualms with that guy. And then they played Man City last year, and he became public enemy number one. So I'm not surprised he got sent off. Dude plays like a brute, and thank God for that. Moving on to our hero of the week, I'll let you go first.
yeah, a player I talked about earlier, and for the same reason, I'll say Casemiro. He scored 2 goals in the competition the other day. Again, I'll reiterate it. I think for me, he's the signing of the year as far as every league goes. He's shown it every game he's played, no matter where they play him. He pushes up, he stays back, anything that's necessary. He probably has like 5+ assists now to Rashford as well. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, he's just been amazing as far as this week and all the weeks that he's played.
Yeah, I can't really knock that decision. Obviously, he was in my idiot of the week conversation a couple of weeks ago for taking a dumb yellow card to get him suspended for the Arsenal match, which maybe hurt United a bit. I think they
Mm.
would have potentially stood a better chance if he played that game. But I mean, it's a fair shot. He had a great game in the FA Cup, so fair choice. My hero of the week is Vinicius Jr. of Real Madrid. He was taking abuse from Atletico fans basically this whole season, whether that be racial or because he dances. I mean, they've been throwing stuff at him this entire year, and he steps up and scores the goal that sends them packing in the Spanish Cup. Obviously, Benzema scored the game winner, but Vinicius was the one that put it at his sight. And to go out and do that and just let your football do the talking for you is something that is completely understated. And I am very happy that Vinicius was able to get that done.
Yeah, as just as a neutral, I for all of Brazil really, I do hate the dancing. I do think it's really um unnecessary at times. But at the same time, that doesn't warrant any of the things that he gets from fans, especially Atletico. I think Atletico, they should kind of learn from their mistakes, considering every time that they bash a player in any fashion, they always end up losing.
He shows up. He should that player usually shows up and beats them.
Yeah, whether it was Ronaldo a few years ago or Vinny now, they keep doing this and they don't have the strength to back it up.
No, they don't, and I think Simeone is going to leave the team at the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised. I think his
Yeah,
tenure's done. Similarly to Klopp, I think he's just exhausted his stay a little too much, unfortunately. But that moves us into our final segment, which is our idiot of the week. And well, your choice makes sense. You can go for that one.
Bayern, 10 times over, 11 times over. They suck. I hate them right now. I'm very upset. And they need a win so badly because, again, the Champions League is right around the corner and they're facing PSG. I'll hope that Mane comes back in time. But if they keep playing like this, they can just forfeit, honestly.
Yeah, PSG's flying.
I would rather them forfeit than watch them get thrashed by PSG. So
Yeah, that's a fair pick. There's a few. I always have a few that I can pick. You know, there's the likes of Todd Bowley for spending too much money.
every
There's the
week,
likes of Stefan Savage for getting sent off. I mean, you know, and even today in the Wrexham match, Sheffield United and guy that should play for Canada, striker Daniel Jebison. He's currently playing for the England U20 teams, but yeah, he is Canadian and should play for us because he's never getting capped by England. Um, my own bias aside, got sent off today, so he could be a shout. There he got sent off for a kick out, which is kind of dumb. But there's two that come to mind. The first one is Atletico Madrid fans because again they were, you know, racist towards Vinicius Jr., who is a better player than anybody on their team. And he shows up and once again sends them home. So that's a good shout. The other one, and I think that the one that takes the cake for this week and so far this year has to be the Juventus. I mean, there's no way, as we just said, you can get deducted 15 points and not be considered just a complete dumbass. Like, I mean, come on, Juventus is not like they are not financially sound, and they are my idiot of the week.
no argument with that. Maybe if we do at the end of the year, end of the season,
Idiot
idiot
of
of
the
the week.
year, yeah. Last year it's Benjamin Mendy. This year, so far, Juventus, you
Yeah,
are a front runner for this. And
front
if you
runner.
get relegated, oh, you are 100% our idiot of the year.
I don't think that'll happen. Just because they still are good, but it's not, I guess, out of the question.
That didn't stop them in '06. They were supposed to win the league, so it is possible. But anyways, that'll wrap it up for us today. On that inspired note, we went over a lot of transfers, including Milan Skriniar, Moises Caicedo, Pedro Porro, etc., and gave our rankings and reviews on those teams. Hunter talked a bit about the Bundesliga table and Bayern Munich's recent struggles with three Graham Potter, aka 1-1 draws, since he is known for that. But he talked a bit about that, and then we went over the Premier League, just a little bit more so the FA Cup. Arsenal did managed to beat Manchester United despite the fact that Man U is in hot form. And in the FA Cup, Man City was able to beat Arsenal 1-0 to move on. Brighton, once again, this year has beaten Liverpool. That seems to be a recurring theme now. And this time in the FA Cup with Matoma scoring the winner. We talked about Wrexham against Sheffield United. We mentioned Iñaki Williams having a Iron Man streak of 251 consecutive games, which was broken. And then we tied everything up with our main story, which was the fact that Juventus was dinged 15 points for financial breaches. And then we have, as usual, closed it up with our idiot hero and goal of the week. And as always, until next time, I'm Graysen Mortimer.
I'm Hunter Boygan.
And we will see you next time.